My brothers and sisters, many of us search for ways to change our lives, to find peace in our hearts, to increase our rizq, and to draw closer to Allah Almighty. But do you know that sometimes the greatest solutions are the simplest ones? The Prophet Muhammad taught us beautiful words, short, easy on the tongue, but heavy on the scales, that can completely transform your life if you make them part of your daily routine. Today, we will uncover 3 powerful dhikr, simple phrases, but filled with unimaginable blessings and rewards. By the end of this video, you'll see how these words can heal your heart, erase your sins, bring barakah into your life, and connect you directly to Allah. So stay tuned and let's begin this journey of remembrance together. Among the many forms of dhikrs, remembrance of Allah, one of the most beloved to Allah and easiest for the believer is saying, Sabbihan Allah wa bi amdi, the glory be to Allah and praise be to Him. Despite its simplicity, this dhikr carries immense rewards, erases sins and fills the heart with light. The Prophet emphasized its value so many times that scholars describe it as one of the treasures of paradise. Forgiveness of sins, the Prophet said, whoever says Sabbihan Allah wa bi amdi 100 times a day, his sins will be forgiven even if they are like the foam of the sea. So Bukhari Muslim. This hadith shows that this dhikr is a powerful means of cleansing the heart from the burden of sins. Human beings naturally slip into mistakes, big or small, whether knowingly or unknowingly. But through this simple remembrance, Allah wipes away countless sins. Imagine the vastness of the sea foam, it's uncountable, yet Allah's forgiveness surpasses it. This is a reminder of His mercy, which is far greater than our shortcomings. Praising Allah's perfection, the word subhinal means to declare Allah free from every imperfection, weakness or flaw. Wa bi amdi adds praise and gratitude to Allah for His countless blessings. Together, this dhikr combines glorification and praise, 2 essential aspects of worship. When a believer recites it sincerely, it renews their faith and deepens their awareness of Allah's majesty. It reminds us that no matter how great our achievements are, ultimate perfection belongs only to Allah. Filling the scales on the day of judgment. The Prophet also said, 2 words are light on the tongue, heavy on the scales, and beloved to the most merciful. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanal al-am. Bukhari Muslim. This means that these short phrases will carry immense weight on the day of judgment when our deeds are measured. Many people may spend their lives chasing worldly recognition, but on that day, these small acts of dhikr will shine brighter than worldly accomplishments, bringing peace and light to the heart. Modern life is full of stress, anxiety, and distractions. Repeating Subhanallah wa bihamdi calms the mind and fills the heart with serenity. It shifts focus from problems to the greatness of Allah, from worries to gratitude. The more we glorify Allah, the more we realize that He is in control of all matters, which helps us let go of unnecessary anxieties. This dhikr also beautifies the tongue, keeping it engaged in positive words instead of gossip, anger, or negativity. Ease and accessibility. Unlike long forms of worship that require time and preparation, this dhikr can be recited anytime, anywhere, while walking, driving, cooking, or before sleep. The Prophet encouraged believers to keep their tongues moist with the remembrance of Allah, and this is one of the easiest ways to do so. Its simplicity makes it accessible to everyone, regardless of age, knowledge, or situation. Conclusion, the dhikr of Subhanallah wa bihamdi is a gift from Allah to His servants, light on the tongue but heavy with rewards. It erases sins, glorifies Allah, and brings tranquility to the heart by making it a daily habit. A believer not only purifies their soul, but also prepares for a heavy scale of good deeds on the day of judgment. Truly, it is a reminder that the simplest acts of worship can have the greatest impact on both this world and the hereafter. One of the most powerful and transformative forms of dhikr is saying astaghfirullah. See, I seek forgiveness from Allah. This simple phrase carries deep spiritual meaning, as it acknowledges human weakness and affirms Allah's endless mercy. Every believer, regardless of how pious, is in need of forgiveness because perfection belongs only to Allah. Regularly making istighfars, seeking forgiveness, not only cleanses the heart but also opens doors to blessings in this life and the hereafter. A command from Allah. In the Quran, Allah repeatedly commands believers to seek forgiveness. He says, and ask forgiveness of Allah. Indeed, Allah is forgiving and merciful. The Quran 73:20. This shows that istighfar is not optional. It is a command for every Muslim. Even the Prophet, who was sinless, sought forgiveness more than 70 times a day. This teaches us that the more we remember our shortcomings, the more humble we become before Allah and the closer we draw to Him. Forgiveness leads to blessings. Istighfar does not only clean sins, but also brings worldly blessings. The Quran tells us that Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, advised his people, ask forgiveness of your Lord. Indeed, He is ever a perpetual forgiver. He will send rain from the sky upon you in showers and give you increase in wealth and children and provide for you gardens and rivers. So Quran 70:12. This verse highlights that seeking forgiveness brings both spiritual and material benefits: rain for crops, wealth, children, and prosperity. Many scholars mention that if someone is struggling with poverty, lack of opportunities, or even difficulties in family life, frequent istighfar can unlock doors of relief and rizq, sustenance. Lightening the burden of the heart. Sins, whether small or great, create darkness and heaviness in the heart. This leads to anxiety, guilt, and distance from Allah. Saying astaghfirullah with sincerity removes these stains, refreshing the soul. The Prophet said, when a servant commits a sin, a black spot appears on his heart. If he gives it up, seeks forgiveness, and repents, his heart will be polished clean. Ibn Majah. This shows that istighfar is like a spiritual polish, cleaning away the darkness of sin and restoring inner peace. A person who regularly seeks forgiveness feels lighter, calmer, and closer to Allah. Protection from punishment. Istighfar acts as a shield from Allah's punishment. The Quran states, but Allah would not punish them while you, O Muhammad, are among them, and Allah would not punish them while they seek forgiveness. Quran 83:3. This verse shows the immense protective power of istighfar. Community that collectively remembers Allah and seeks His forgiveness is spared from punishments and calamities. On an individual level, it serves as a safeguard, turning Allah's anger into mercy. A daily habit of renewal, istighfar, should not be limited to moments of guilt. Rather, it should become a daily habit. Before sleeping, after salah, while walking or driving, a believer should keep their tongue moist with astaghfirullah. Each time it is uttered, it renews the connection with Allah and reminds us of His mercy. The Prophet taught us to end every salah by saying astaghfirullah 3 times, showing how central this dhikr is to a Muslim's life. The dhikr of astaghfirullah is more than a phrase. It is a doorway to forgiveness, mercy, blessings, and peace. It cleanses sins, opens the gates of rizq, and brings tranquility to the heart. By making istighfar a constant part of life, we acknowledge our dependence on Allah and secure His mercy in both worlds. Truly, seeking forgiveness is one of the greatest keys to happiness and success. The phrase, La ilaha illallah, there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, is the greatest statement in Islam. It is the very foundation of faith and the key to paradise. This simple yet profound dhikr carries the weight of tawhid, oneness of Allah, which is the essence of Islam. The Prophet said, the best remembrance is La ilaha illallah. The best supplication is Al-Amdulil, Tamidi. Uttering this phrase with sincerity is more valuable than anything in the heavens and the earth. The foundation of faith, La ilaha illallah, is not only a phrase but a declaration of belief. It affirms that there is no true God, no power, and no authority worthy of worship except Allah. This statement distinguishes a believer from a non-believer and is the entry point into Islam. Every prophet began their mission with this call to Tawhid. Prophet Entif, Prophet Abraham, Prophet Mespamat, Prophet Sese, and finally Prophet Muhammad and Ad all invited their nations with the words of oneness, to worship Allah alone. Saying it is easy, but living by it means aligning one's entire life with this principle, submitting to Allah, obeying Him, and rejecting false gods such as wealth, desires, and worldly status. The best form of dhikr, the Messenger of Allah said, the most superior remembrance is La ilaha illallah, Sa'ib ibn Majah. This makes it the greatest dhikr a believer can engage in. Unlike other forms of remembrance that may ask for forgiveness, gratitude, or blessings, this dhikr directly affirms Allah's oneness and majesty. When the tongue repeats it, the heart becomes firm in faith. It purifies intentions and reminds a believer that everything is in Allah's hands. It is also the heaviest phrase on the scale Zen on the day of judgment. A shield from hellfire. The Prophet promised that whoever sincerely says La ilaha illallah will enter paradise. In an hadith he said, whoever dies knowing that there is no deity except Allah will enter paradise. A Muslim. This dhikr is not only a declaration of faith but also a shield against hellfire. It wipes away sins when uttered with full conviction and sincerity. Even if a believer falls into sin, holding firmly to Tawhid and repenting with this statement ensures Allah's forgiveness and mercy. A source of peace and strength. Life's challenges often make people anxious, fearful, or restless. Repeating La ilaha illallah reminds the believer that nothing controls their fate except Allah. This brings immense peace to the heart. The Quran says, those who believe and whose hearts find rest in the remembrance of Allah. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. Like Quran 13:2-8. This dhikr also strengthens patience, courage, and reliance upon Allah. It removes fear of people, difficulties, or worldly loss, because the believer knows that only Allah has power. The key to paradise, the Prophet said, whoever's last words are La ilaha illallah will enter paradise. Abu Dawud. This hadith shows the weight of this dhikr at the moment of death. A lifetime of belief and practice should lead a believer to end their journey with these words, which unlock eternal success. The Dhikr of La ilaha illallah is the heart of Islam, the best remembrance and the heaviest phrase on the Day of Judgment. It is not just a statement of the tongue but a way of life, affirming Allah's oneness, worshipping Him sincerely and rejecting all rivals. By making this dhikr frequent and heartfelt, a believer strengthens their faith, purifies their soul and ensures their path to paradise. Truly, there is no greater treasure than these words, La ilaha illallah. Dhikr, the remembrance of Allah, is one of the simplest yet most powerful acts of worship. It requires no wealth, no specific time, and no special condition. A believer can remember Allah while walking, driving, working, or even resting. Yet the true power of dhikr is unlocked when it is done with consistency. Occasional remembrance softens the heart temporarily, but regular remembrance shapes the heart, reforms character, and transforms life. Just as drops of water can carve through stone when they fall consistently, dhikr gradually reshapes the soul when practiced daily. Dhikr as daily nourishment for the soul. Just as the body requires food and water to survive, the heart and soul need dhikr for spiritual survival. Ibn al-Qayyim compared dhikr to nourishment, stating that a heart without remembrance is like a body without life. A believer who makes dhikr consistently feeds their soul with light, peace and strength. The Quran reminds us, remember me and I will remember you. Quran 2:52, this verse highlights that dhikr is not only about the servant remembering Allah, but also about Allah honoring His servant in return. Consistent remembrance thus brings continuous divine care, transformation through habitual remembrance. Consistency in dhikr develops a spiritual habit that keeps the believer connected to Allah throughout the day. For example, repeating Sabah Nali wa Bayamdi daily increases gratitude and humility. Astaghfirullah cleanses sins and renews the heart, while Lala Ilha Ilawale strengthens faith and tawd. When done regularly, these words become ingrained in the heart, guiding behavior and choices. Over time, consistent dhikr helps the believer naturally turn to Allah in every situation, before speaking, before making decisions, when facing hardship, or even when enjoying blessings. This constant mindfulness transforms ordinary moments into acts of worship. The ripple effect on character and life, one of the greatest transformations that consistency in dhikr brings, is purification of the heart. A heart filled with remembrance of Allah becomes less prone to jealousy, anger, arrogance, and despair. Instead, it becomes filled with patience, kindness, humility, and hope. The Prophet said, the example of the one who remembers Allah and the one who does not remember Allah is like that of the living and the dead. Bukhari. This hadith shows that dhikr doesn't just bring reward, it brings life to the heart. A heart alive with dhikr reflects in speech, manners, and even in one's outlook on life. Consistency brings barakah and stability. Another transformation lies in the barakah blessing that comes with consistent dhikr. A person who constantly remembers Allah experiences clarity of thought in difficulties and unexpected blessings in their time and provisions. This is because their heart is aligned with Allah's remembrance, which draws divine help. Moreover, consistency builds spiritual stability. Just as regular exercise strengthens the body, daily dhikr strengthens the heart to withstand life's challenges. When calamity strikes, the believer who is consistent in dhikr finds it easier to remain patient and hopeful, knowing Allah is always near. Consistency in dhikr is not about the quantity of words, but the regularity and sincerity of remembrance. Even a few phrases, when repeated daily, can transform the heart, character, and life of a believer. Nurtures gratitude, cleanses sins, strengthens faith, and draws Allah's mercy. The Prophet said, keep up your tongue moist with the remembrance of Allah. Tamidi. This advice is a timeless reminder that a believer's greatest strength lies in never allowing their heart to become empty of Allah's remembrance. A consistent dhikr routine, morning, evening, throughout the day, is the key to spiritual transformation. With it, the believer not only survives life's trials, but thrives in them, living with peace, strength, and closeness to Allah.